So I am here. As you can see, I've just taken a shower and I've had a romance scammer pop up. So I'm going to show you what I do when my hair is all wet. You know what that is? Nothing. I let it air dry. So a romance scammer has appeared, and it is not, sadly enough, it is not a fake Paul Stanley. My heart is broken. No fake Paul Stanleys, and that's what I wanted, really, not this guy. This guy took his picture from a suit ad. I was able to chase down very quickly which suit ad he used. So far, we're having a very restrained conversation. And I do apologize for showing up like this. I just finished mopping the house. And one of the first things I do is jump in the shower. Now, this guy friended me a couple hours ago, and I've been waiting for him to approach. So he just approached. Of course, he would do it just as I'm getting out of the shower. So, very normal, awful conversations. Listen to this so far. Hello. Greetings. Do I know you? That's me. No, how are you? Quite well. Then he said, nice to meet you. And I said, likewise, you. So where are you from? That's what he asked me. I said, grew up in New Orleans. And you? What do you do for a living? Not exactly true. I grew up all over South Louisiana. Well, I'm from Rome, Italy, but I live in Bryan, Texas. I'm a welder. What do you do for a living? Okay, here's where we're going to have some sticky wicket fun. Retired. Retired to another country. Now, which country am I going to say? Actually, speak a little Italian, so maybe I'm going to have to break out the buongiorno. Who knows? But I do not think that this is going to be one of those times. I think the closest he has ever been to Italy is whatever town he's from in the former Soviet Union, one of those nations, or over in one of the African nations, because a lot of these guys are over in Africa. Most of them are, not all of them. Lately, Bulgaria and places like that, those guys have gotten in on the action, the romance scammer action. And okay, come here, come back. I hate how long sometimes they take to come back. That is the thing. And I'm going to have to break down and figure out how to use SteamYard so that I can show you guys our conversations, because to me, that is the most revealing thing. And some of the pictures, I've already taken the trouble to, besides locate where his picture is, I saw how many times it's been used for romance scammer baits. It's been used over and over. That photograph has been. The name he is using is Robert Walker. So that doesn't sound very Italian to me. Oh, what do you do for fun? Okay, and here's where I'm going to have some fun with this. I watch my servants pick the bananas and wax the airplane. See what kind of bullshit I can get him to come back with. Hey, do I have one? I have one on the hook, Christine. He just started. I just told him that he asked what I do for fun, and I said I watch the serpents wax my airplane and pick bananas. God, I wish I had an airplane. I got airplanes on the brain recently. Um, I started checking out what it would cost to buy a twin engine Cessna so you could fly back and forth all the time without having to go through the awfulness that is commercial flight. Okay, come on. Okay, come on. So this guy is pretty sedate so far, but I know he's a romance scammer because of the photo. And telling me he's from Rome, Italy, with a name like Robert Walker. At least he got the name right. A lot of times with these guys, it'll be something like Walker's Robert. They'll mess it up somehow. They'll have the wrong first name, the wrong last name. But this time he's got a very standard white boy first name and last name. And I would say, looking at the picture, he's trying to pretend he's around retirement age. But he's claiming he is a welder. Oh, well, I love cooking, swimming, reading, walking, and dancing. Okay, how pedestrian. I do swim, but only in the mornings before the pool heats up to past 89.9 degrees. Okay, so I'm bringing the weird now, just for fun to see what he does with that, because that's always, to me, that's the funniest part, is to just keep throwing weird things out and see what happens. Got a few random Facebook friend requests recently. They're always military men. Those are romance scammers. They always come on as they're military men, or if they're not military men, there's some guy pretending he works in some industry, and he's from somewhere else. Like maybe he's from Scotland, but he's saying he's working over in Texas, or he says he's from Texas and he's working over in Scotland. And I always get them to tell me where they're working, and I look it up and see what the actual statistics are about that. A lot of times, what it is they'll name a famous company, but where they're claiming they are, the famous company doesn't have an outlet. I'm about to hit this guy up for money. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to, oh, he said that was nice. What am I going to do with that? Okay, I'm going to mix a little truth in. I'm flying back to the USA next week. He's asking me how long I've been on Twitter. So how long have you been on Twitter? And before I got that, I said, I'm flying back to the USA next week. Many years now. Oh, okay. That's his response. Okay, that's a little weird. These scammers are ridiculous, cheapskate. I love how ridiculous they are. This is the most fun one can have for free by torturing these guys. But like I said, I just mopped the floor and then took a shower, and there he was. And I was like, this is too good to pass up. Even though it was kind of funny, after I did the last one and I ran off, Paul Stanley came back. Military and or widows, yes. They sometimes will say they work in the petrochemical industry. That is a big one. Chemical engineers. Oh, I work for the XYZ refinery and I'm a chemical engineer. Sometimes they get ones that claim they are boat captains. That's always fun. But the fun one to me is the Paul Stanley one. And why? Because last time he wasn't responding to me, and I got to tell you what I did. I was devious, and I could have gone back on. Your son told you about it. So, okay. Oh, okay, that's good. Well, I'm new here. My son told me about it. You have children? I'm about to tell him children are delicious with red wine. Um, so Paul Stanley came back last time after putting me on hold for like forever. And he asked me why I was a fan of his. And then he said, which of my songs do you like? And I said, I don't like any of your music. Your music is puerile. The lyrics are juvenile. None of you guys play your instruments very well. I came up with a long list of things that I didn't like about Kiss's music, which I don't really feel that strongly about any of them. But I just analyzed the music like I was some kind of music snob. And he said, no one's ever been so honest with me. Thank you. And I just started laughing because that's the craziest. That's something only a scammer would say. The real Paul Stanley is enough of an ego. If you told him that his music sucked, he'd probably flip out. I know someone who's been talking to a guy and just found out he's a scammer. Why did he suddenly ask for money? Because when these guys ask for money, it's usually a tip off. And another tip off is when they tell you that they have to get off Twitter, Facebook, whatever, because they want to talk to you more intimately and not be so restrained. So they try to push you to something that has no restraints, that has no way of reporting them for being fakers. Something like the Google messaging system. I forgot what they even call that stuff anymore. The other day they were trying to get me to move to Instagram and somewhere else, and I was just like, nope. The fake Paul Stanley tried to get me to move to uh, Zoom. I thought that was interesting. He told her something about seeing her package, but she need to pay and he would reimburse her. Oh no, the package scam. I've seen that a bunch of times too. Yes, I have divorced with one son and two grandkids. And you are married? Widowed. Oil exec. Widowed with an oil exec. We'll see. So the other one besides the package thing is when they tell you they have to have money because their passport. And the fake Paul Stanleys are good about that because they'll say stuff like, I have to have $10,000 for a first class ticket to Los Angeles because Gene ran off with my passport and so have to buy an emergency passport, blah, blah, blah. It's always funny. And they're always out of the country, of course. Absolutely. These guys, that's exactly what they do. And the fake Paul Stanley, the most common story I get is they're on tour. They had a fight with Gene. They left. They ran off to think. And they came back and said, Gene left with my passport. Now I need money. It's like, sucks to be you. You better call up Gene you better call him up, collect, and ask him to come get your ass because I'm not paying. Okay, come on, come on, come on. And it's these guys are just always the goofiest. Now, many years ago, I used to do things through a place called 419 Eater, which is a huge, 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 huge scammer site. And we used to fool with them directly, not this romance stuff. This is the newest wrinkle. This is the wrinkle that I like because it's the funniest. Is more potential for funny. Maybe you should ask this guy for money so he can get access. That's what I should do. I should tell him that my passport got stolen. So now I need $1,000 to buy to get an expedited passport. Sadly, I'm coming up on having to renew mine, which is going to be a hassle for me, or I have a feeling. It's either going to be a hassle or it's going to be as easy as filing for Social Security was. Everybody in the States has told me what a hassle they've had filing for Social Security, having anything to do with Social Security. Here it was pretty easy. I just called up the embassy. They transferred me to the place there that handles the Social Security, and the embassy representative, if the Social Security office handled it, and it was like that. It wasn't anything like what my friends went through. Okay, come on, come on. New messages. What are you, a widow? Yes, yes, I am widowed. Someone stole my passport. So I need to get an emergency one quickly. So I'm getting ready to ask him for the money. I'm getting ready to ask him for the money. I just set it up with saying that somebody stole my passport, which is the most common thing they will tell you. They need money. How long you been a widow? Would it be rude to say 20 minutes? uh, it probably would be. So I'm gonna give him a fake amount of time, some years. I don't know what I am going to do about the passport. Here's the other thing. I want you to notice that what I'm reading you is not grammatical from him. What are you a widow? How long you been a widow? Okay. Yes, I have divorced with one son. I'm new here. My son told me. Okay, so he's typing. Let's see. Another clue is their grammar and spelling. Obviously, anytime that they start skipping words routinely and you are listening to like what I call Nigerian speak, English is probably at least his maybe second or third language, probably third, because if he's in some part of Africa, chances are he speaks several different dialects. You know, I've never been to Africa. That's one of the places I'd like to go, but I can't drag my husband anywhere near it. He lived in Nigeria for a couple of years, maybe a year. Hated it. He said the people there were nice, but he always felt like they were just, how can I put this? Just one hair away from snapping, I guess. He talked about that, how there's, you could tell that there was hostility right below the surface. He went to a British boarding school there, I think it was. And I used to tease him because at one time he was dating somebody whose family they owned this huge tobacco company. I used to tease him and say, could have married her. She'd be worth millions of dollars. I'm so sorry for your loss. It's okay. We lived apart many years. Okay, so I'm lying to him and telling him that my husband and I lived apart for a long time. Which is not true. Only sometimes I think about that. You should tell him your husband recently passed. You can't discuss the details. Ooh. Maybe I should tell him my name is Ann Bender. If you ever have um, some free time on your hands, Google Ann and John Bender, Costa Rica. She killed him. At least I believe she killed him. She's been arrested and tried like 3 or 4 times, and it's been a big scandal. He committed suicide, supposedly, and the hole was in the very back of his head. Forensics proved he was asleep, and she claims that he killed himself. Yeah, cheapskate. This is one of those really bizarre ones too, because it's pretty obvious what happened. They both had problems with mental illness and depression and such. And you get here where there's a lot of isolation, because there is, and where they were, there definitely was, because they lived near another message. Okay, so you have meet anyone? So have you meet anyone online before? Uh, very seldom. Very seldom. So anyway, back to the John Bender and Ann Bender thing. They bought this huge tract of land near San Ysidro General, I think it was. And it was a beautiful tract of land. They had a waterfall on it. They built this round house. It was the coolest thing. They had millions of dollars because he was like a day trader or something. And then they holed up in there. They got robbed a couple times, which does happen here sometimes, particularly if you do things that have a lot of people working for you, have a maid, all of that. Sometimes people see what you have and they'll rob you if you're not careful. And all kinds of bad things happen, and they both started having depression problems. And she started emailing people in the States about she was afraid he's going to kill himself. And then all of a sudden he turns up with a bullet in the very back of his head from a rifle. There's no way he could have put the gun and, well, maybe it was a rifle or handgun. Whatever it was, the Costa Rican government determined there's no way he could have made the shot where it was in the back of his head. And they tried her. They tried her for murder. But that's after she had holed up in the mental hospital for a while after his death. And Costa Rica did the most Costa Rican thing of all time. The police supposedly, and I don't know this for a fact because I wasn't there, but she claims they ripped off her house. They took everything out of it. And that's very strangely very possible here. Because if they think that you have brought these ill-gotten gains in and you haven't declared them, they will take them. And one of the things that she had they did not know she had was like $3 million worth of loose gemstones. She had not declared those, and they took them. And she's still trying to get her gemstones back. They convicted her. She went to jail. They overturned the conviction. Her attorney was, and they tried her again. They kept trying her. And it's still up in the air as to what's going to happen. But it's a crazy one. It's a crazy story. What? Okay. So do you live alone? Okay. I'm going to answer that. If you call living with us with a staff of 15 living alone. Okay, I think I'm going to ask him also. I'm going to tell him I need help with my staff. I need money to pay. So, right now I need to get my lawyer to transfer some funds in so I can bribe a judge and leave. This is the dumbest one yet. I really am off my game tonight. So the true crime thing. Yeah, so the Ann Bender thing is one of the worst cases that ever happened here. And there are 1,000 trillion little petty crimes here all the time. Somebody stole from us recently our trash can. They picked it up right outside our gates. We put it out that morning to be emptied. We came back, it was gone. And we had a pretty nice can with a lid, very similar to the type that you would have in the US. And we paid pretty penny to have that stupid thing. It was like, somebody stole our trash can. So that's when we realized that all of our neighbors have beat up old things. We hold up our beat up old one and nobody has stole it since. But there's a lot of really dumb little petty crime here. And every now and then something horrific will happen. We've had some cartel shootings here recently. Okay, so you have your own apartment? Apartment? What is that? Okay, I'm gonna mess with him now. I asked him what an apartment was because he asked me if I had my own apartment. Oh, you mean like poor people live in? Yeah, I'm not going to ask him for money. What I'm going to do is I'm going to act like a clueless billionaire's wife because we have a ton of clueless billionaires here. I could tell you clueless billionaire stories galore. One of the ones that is the funniest is somebody I knew was going to build this big facility here. They were going to put in what all, a recording studio. They were going to put in a giant telescope for the university where where they lived. This guy was loaded, so he bought this huge piece of property. He's going to put all this in. He never bothered to ask if there was water, electricity access, or internet. So we have this big piece of property he couldn't do anything with. So he still owns it now, and he's now living in the subdivision that the Marriott put together. He's living over, I can't remember the name of the thing, but it's over by Avallanes, and it's a huge place, and there it is gorgeous. But he's also like torn out his swimming pool a couple of times because it didn't feel right or look right or whatever the problem was. And I still get a big kick out of that because I'm not sure who does that here. I'm not sure. We were so careful before we had our pool put in to have the contract signed, spell out everything, how big it was going to be, the whole 9 yards. Uh, he's asking me if I own my own house in many places. Telling him in many places I own a house. Now, one of the funniest baits I ever did was I did one where the guy was I told the guy I was a cult leader. And I started pretty much saying, the stuff that I expected Marshall Applewhite to say with the Heaven's Gate cult, grab a roll of quarters, cut off your nuts, and meet me behind the comet. And the guy just kept on and kept on and kept on, and he just could not believe. And he was fun. This guy, not so much. This guy is not. I need all these houses to put my followers in. They need to concentrate on they need to concentrate on fulfilling the will of okay. I'm going to go with a weird one. He must be talking to several of them at the same time, but he's asking me some just really basic questions, and I'm throwing some weird shit out there, and he's not answering any of it. So there was a fake cult called Shopo, and I'm about to employ Shopo. Says, I need all these houses to put in my followers in. They need to concentrate on fulfilling the will of Shopo. So the cult of Shopo thing was on Facebook. It was Hold Space for My Tribe, where they made fun of all these different new age goofy things. Like they were the ones that came up with sunning your taint and other silly things for fun that actually ended up as part of just regular society. Because the next thing I know, the yogis grabbed that and were like, yes, expand your energy by sunning your parts of your body down there. It was like, oh my goodness. He probably is talking to a bunch. I think Paul Stanley was, and I think they kicked him to the curb pretty quickly because he came back in about a half hour and was just like really chatty. That's when he started asking me what I thought about his music and all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, come on back, dude, or I'm just going to have to boot you because this is getting long-winded and stupid. Okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna put this puppy to bed and just go on because he is clearly not concentrating on me, and I am not putting up with that tonight. I got stuff to go do. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get my hair dry enough to sleep on tonight. And I gotta make coffee for tomorrow and get some stuff ready. It's hot. Too hot to have hot coffee during the day. So sadly, I'm gonna wrap this one up. I'm gonna go ahead and go. Tomorrow I want to talk about something really goofy that has popped up this weekend about the Mother's Day thing. Everybody I've been talking to in the evangelical world has had some really crazy things to say about Mother's Day and mothers and everything else. So I think I'm going to do that in the morning because the more I look at some of that and some of the body shaming and some of the mother shaming and the shaming of this and the other, it's just like, uh-uh. So y'all have a good evening. I'm going to go scare at my blow dryer and blow dry my hair. We'll see you later.